Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're checking out a tiny little nano drone from a company called TRNDlabs. This is called the Sky, and there's a bunch of these out there, but this one interested me because it has a camera on the front that records 480p video, and it actually does a pretty nice job recording video. However, it doesn't do a very nice job flying, unfortunately, so that's going to be a big problem here. So you can see how tiny this is. I should say up front that TRNDlabs let us borrow this as a review loaner for a couple days to check out. They are not paying me for this review. I have no financial interest with the company whatsoever. What you're about to see are my opinions and my opinions alone, and I like to do longer disclosures on this channel these days because many YouTubers are not, and I feel it's important for you all to know where I'm coming from in my reviews. So this is what we got here, a quadcopter. They do give you some extra propellers in the box in case you break one of these things. They're pretty flexible and they often bend more than snap, unfortunately, so keep that in mind. It is impossible to fly this thing. There is a controller that they give you, so it's got its own controller. Their throttle control is right here, and you can control the direction the drone is flying in with this control here. Unfortunately, it is really not geared with any kind of flight controller, so when you first get into it, it just kind of whips up into the air, and you spend most of your time trying to get the sweet spot to keep it hovering, because if you let go of the controller for a second, it usually just kind of floats down to the ground or crashes down to the ground, and if you push too much on it, it tends to just fly right up into the ceiling. And their video that they did marketing this thing has it just kind of maneuvering really precisely around the home. You are not going to have this experience with this thing. I can tell you that. I've spent hours today trying to get it right and really couldn't get it there. So there is some settings in the control here, so I can push this controller in, and it'll give me varying degrees of sensitivity. I did find on the high setting, I was able to get it to a point where I could kind of control it. The other problem with it, though, is that it drifts around a lot, so it doesn't just hover in one spot. So like we've seen with some of the Parrot and some of the more expensive drones, that even when you're inside, when it takes off, it tends to kind of stay where it is. The computers on the device tend to keep it stable. This one really doesn't. It just kind of floats around, and there are trim controls on the controller that I did try to get functional on here, but they really didn't do much of anything, and quite frankly, I couldn't keep it aloft long enough because it kept crashing into stuff to actually get these trim controls to work. So this is not a good experience, and you'll see over the course of my using this drone that the landing gear on here snapped off. I already lost one propeller because it kind of get bent over on something when it hit something else, and then I crashed into something and bent that very same propeller again. And because these propellers are all keyed to the position on the drone, I wasn't able to actually fly it any more than I was able to in the few hours that I was playing with it. So it's really not very good from a flight control perspective, especially as it's being marketed as something that's used indoors. You're going to break this thing, as I did, very quickly, just trying to get a feel for it. So you may want to buy two. They're about $59 or $69 on the TRNDlabs website, so they're not all that inexpensive either. I mean, I'm not sure what you should expect for this price point, but I got maybe 2 hours out of it before it started to break on me, so that's just something to keep in mind. There is a camera on the front here, as we talked about, 480p at 30 frames per second. There's an SD card slot here in the back for storing those videos. They also give you a card reader for your USB port, so you can read off of that card, or of course you can plug it into a standard card reader. There's also a yellow USB cable here to charge it, so you plug this end into the drone and the USB cable here into your computer or another USB power source. It takes about maybe 10 or 15 minutes to give it a good charge. The light inside the cable will turn off when it's fully charged, and you can pop it out, maybe get about 5 to 8 minutes of flight time, but it won't stay aloft that long because it's going to crash into something before then. So not the best experience, and I spent, again, most of my time trying to keep it just level from flying into the ceiling or crashing into the floor, and that was about the extent of the flight experience for me, and just wasn't a very good one. But I want to show you what the video quality is on the drone, so you can check out this video I made with some video footage off the camera. So that is the TRNDlabs Nano, and there are a bunch of different versions of this very same drone. that are made by other companies. They just have different logos stamped on them. They all are probably going to perform just as lousy as this one does from a flight perspective. I did follow all the instructions. I did try to get the trim set a certain way. I did calibrate it by putting the two joysticks in this position to calibrate it on a flat surface. None of that seemed to be able to get this thing into the air and have it stay in one spot, or at least close to it, to the point where I could control it. Again, I was really dealing with this bobbing up and down all the time that really took away from a lot of the fun, and it really kept crashing into stuff so often that I really couldn't get much of a positive flight experience out of it. I would not recommend it for outdoor flight at all. A gust of wind is going to just blow it right away from you. There's really no way to control this thing very well. So I would skip this, save your money, find something else that might be out there, unless you have experience with other drones like this one and have gotten used to all the quirkiness of their overall flight patterns. I would really look for something a little bit larger that has some intelligence built in to really keep them hovering, because I think that is kind of what we're seeing on the more expensive end of the drone world, and that's something I would like to see work its way into less expensive ones too. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters, including gold level supporter Shabib. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.